The Joe Rogan Experience.
So anyway, they had Banksy's, like they had a fucking man. I think I need to take a supplement for I need to get some ginkgo biloba in me. Who's the artist with Picasso? They had a Picasso. I'm like, who's the guy who puts like an eye over here?
The guy with no ear? No, that's Van Gogh.
Yes, they had Banksy's like just in the house, like up like that. Like wow, that's probably. I mean, that's
$1 million.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah,
Right?
probably.
At least.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how much they are, but I was like, oh wow, that's like your own personal Banksy.
I went over to an agent's house once in Aspen, and this is like a long time ago. And we were there they used to have the Aspen Comedy Festival. And I was over his house, and I was like, oh, did his kid make this? There's like this painting on the wall. And they're like, no, that's Chris Babajvava.
Yeah.
I go, he paid for that? It looked like tissue.
No.
I'm just saying this to another agent. So it's me and this other agent just shooting the shit over a couple of cocktails. We're
crazy.
laughing.
Yeah.
But I'm like, for real? And he goes, yeah, that's worth like $35,000. I'm like,
yeah, that's
there's
fine.
no way that is it's like a kid did that. It was like pieces of tissue paper glued with some paint splattered on it.
It's nuts.
I was like, what is this? Do you know the origins of that stuff? They think
what?
it was a CIA psyop.
For what?
Modern art like that.
Come on.
Yes. Yeah. There's some evidence that points to the CIA.
Like when they just nail a banana to the wall or something?
Yeah, a little bit of that, but a little bit of like Jackson Pollock.
So, yeah,
like
I was going to bring up Pollock because Stern did that. Did you ever see when Howard did that? He was like, I can make a Jackson Pollock and you won't know the difference. Uh-huh. And he did it on a sheet. He did it and he put it next to each other and nobody knew the difference.
Yeah. So what they think is we couldn't compete during the Cold War with the classical artists of Russia. Like, there's some incredible painters in Russia at the time, and I'm sure there are now. But we didn't have a similar level. We didn't have a Da Vinci over here. We didn't have someone who could do what they were doing. And so the CIA came up with a plot to popularize nonsense art and make it like really huge and make all these investors want to spend money buying like nonsense art. And apparently I never would have considered that until I paid attention to all the other shit that they've done over the last, X amount of decades. And I was like, I think that's true. Because it doesn't make sense to me that stuff would just emerge and all of a sudden be worth millions of dollars. And someone wouldn't figure out exactly what Howard Stern figured out, that I could make this on my own.
Right.
And you could just say it's a Pollock. This is a Jackson Pollock. And no one would know. Like, what are we talking about then? We're talking about something that anybody can do. If you look at the Mona Lisa, you're like, well, I can't do that.
Right.
You look at, there's a million paintings. You look at it, like, especially today. There's something about the level that people are at today where they're making, like, photograph realistic paintings.
Yeah.
Photorealistic paintings, like that are above and beyond anyone's ever accomplished in the history of art. But because it looks so realistic, people don't even seem to care. Modern art was the CIA weapon. Spy agency used unwitting artists such as Pollock and de Kooning in a cultural Cold War. Isn't that wild? So scroll up to the thing. This is from The Independent. Oh, you have to support?
No, that's there, I guess.
Oh, okay. So the connections are probable. There's a period in the 1950s and 1960s when the great majority of Americans disliked or even despised modern art. President Truman summed up the popular view when he said, if that's art, then I'm a Hottentot. I don't know what that means.
Hottentot?
Hottentot? What's a Hottentot?
I don't know, but I'll tell you right now, I'm starting to use that word.
A Hottentot. Jamie, Google that word. What is that word?
Never heard
what's
it.
What's a Hottentot?
Sounds
Throw
like a
that into
candy.
perplexity.
Sounds like a candy. Like
what
a Mike
is
and Ike.
a Hottentot? T-O-T. What's a Hottentot? Outdated and offensive term historically used by Europeans to refer to, I don't know how to say that word, Khoekhoe, an indigenous group of nomadic pastoralists from South Africa. Jesus Christ.
I'm not going to use it.
The president was using that. You want to talk about the world being different? The president was using a slur.
Oh my God.
As for the artists themselves, many were ex-communists and barely acceptable in the America of the McCarthyite era, and certainly not the sort of people normally likely to receive U.S. government backing. So why the CIA support them? Because in the propaganda war with Soviet Union, this new artistic movement could be held up as proof of the creativity, the intellectual freedom, and the cultural power of the U.S.-Russian art. Of the U.S., rather. Russian art, strapped into the communist ideological straitjacket, could not compete. Hilarious. So because their artists were better, we decided to come up with some nonsense art and make people think that was the shit, and it worked. It worked.
But are we saying that they found those artists and propped them up?
No, the
or
artists
saying
already
that those
existed.
Artists were
No, the artists already existed, but the CIA propped them up and pushed them out as being amazing. And they did it in an effective way. And look, if there are all these like super duper rich people are involved or closely connected to the CIA, all they would have to do is have art exhibits at their house and tell everybody how amazing this guy is and how mind-blowing this piece is. And they'll all agree.
That's how art
idiots.
works in a general sense now anyway. It's like there are people at the top that dictate a lot of this stuff. You know what I mean?
Well, for sure. But there's also just talent. You know, if
Yes.
someone's really good, like all they have to have is an Instagram page. If they're really talented.
Oh yeah, but I'm saying the art world and the art as a commodity and all that kind of stuff. Like, you know, like the bottom can fall out at any time of that, just like anything else. It's like,
I guess, but people always want art. But the thing is, like, what I'm getting at is nobody wanted that art.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it became worth millions. And it became worth millions because of the CIA.
Yeah, that's wild.
They mind fucked the American people into believing that terrible art is really good.
That's wild.
Wild.
Yeah. No, because I just read an article recently about like how art as investment, like there's been like a huge change where a lot of artists that were being pushed and were really hot by galleries and this and that, like just years ago, and selling at X amount, like their stuff's not worth anything right now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I wonder why. Well, when the economy starts going, I would imagine that people stop buying art, right? Like luxury items, shit you don't need, art.
Yeah. It wasn't. I forget, but it wasn't economy based. It was like the trend, like the trend within that world or whatever. It's like it's always weird to me how people put a price tag on that stuff.